All right, guys, welcome in. I appreciate you tuning in. We are going to get right into this. Is anybody surprised? Is anybody shocked at the news that Somalis are embezzling U.S. taxpayer money and sending them to terrorist organizations in Somalia? Is anybody surprised by that? Is anybody surprised that now that Somalis run the city council, run the police force, the number one representative in Minnesota is a Somali immigrant? Now you have another gentleman named Omar Fattah, who is a representative of Minnesota, who actually ran for mayor and just lost to Jacob Frey. But he and Ilhan Omar, I got to tell you, if you don't know anything about Ilhan Omar, there's two things you have to know. One, she's the most powerful person in Minnesota. Other is that she is racist towards white people and she hates America. Those two things you need to know. Okay, she hates white people and she hates America. Now, it's funny. These Somali immigrants who have come from their crap country and come over here to the land of the free, home of the brave, have now said that the greatest threat to America are white people. Does anybody believe that? That's right. Ilhan Omar and Omar Fattah have both said that the greatest threat to America are white people, not Somali immigrants coming over here supporting terrorist organizations, not the crime that we see in our own communities from minority communities. No, that's right. It's white people. So let's just see exactly what Ilhan Omar has to say about white people.
Say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men. I would say.
Wait, hold on. Did I just hear her correctly? Did she say that we need to create policies to target white men? Imagine, could you imagine? Because we do know there's a lot of crime in the black community. Imagine a white representative saying that, you know what, we need to create policies to target black men so they can stop their radicalization, so they can stop their violence. Imagine anybody saying that on the Republican side. But again, on the Democratic side, it's okay to be racist. It's okay to hate white people. It's okay to hate America. And for whatever reason, CNN, MSNBC, it's okay. They don't call it out. Because why? They're victims, apparently. If white people say something, it's racist. But if black people or Somali immigrants say something that's racist, it's tolerated in America. Now let's see what Omar Fattah has to say about white people.
We heard them being called drug dealers. We heard a lot of insults. We heard that they're a threat to our national security. And that's a flat out lie. You want to know who the real threat is, Madam President? I'll give you a hint. They don't look like our chief author. They don't look like the folks up in the gallery. They don't look like the folks out in the rotunda. They look like many of the members that sit in the front. And you don't have to take my word for it. According to DHS, Madam President, the greatest domestic threat facing the United States comes from, quote, racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, specifically those who advocate for the superiority of the white race, not our immigrants.
So what he's now saying is that it's white people that are the greatest threat now, not immigrants. Not Somali immigrants that have been flooding over our country to Minnesota to keep people like Omar Fattah and Ilhan Omar in office. It's not the Somali immigrants. No. It's the white people. Why is white racist? Why is it okay for Democrats to be racist towards white people and we're not allowed to say anything? Ilhan Omar and Omar Fattah have literally said that white people are the greatest threat to America. You see Jasmine Crockett, a black representative in Texas, say that white people are the greatest threat. Nobody believes that, but that is the Democratic message for whatever reason. And it's allowed. Now, we do know that Minneapolis is going through a huge scandal right now. And that scandal is that there was an organization, and Somalis are, of course, in charge of it. And U.S. taxpayers have been embezzled and funneled to terrorist organizations in Somalia. That's right, over $1 billion have been funneled. Now imagine you're a U.S. taxpayer and the city council and the mayor say, hey, you know what? We're going to create this organization And it's going to help families in need, charities, people that are really deserving. And people are like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to help kids. I want to help starving kids. I want to help families. I really do. So here's my money. Here's taxpayer dollars going to these organizations. And guess what? The people that are running these organizations are now saying, losers, taking that money for themselves and then giving it to Somali and orchestrating all this money to terrorist organizations in Somalia. That's what's happening now. Now, the mayor knew about it, 100%. The governor, Tim Walz, knew about it. We're actually going to get dived into this report right now, and you're going to actually see what's happening in Minnesota and all the scandal.
Continue to ignore. How did $1 billion or more of Minnesota taxpayer money just suddenly go missing under Tim Walz? There he is. Hi, Tim. Walz reportedly knew that this fraud was happening, but refused to do anything to stop it because he didn't want to lose the Somalian vote in Minnesota, and he's running for governor again. And by doing that, by being polite and likely breaking the law, Walz allowed hundreds of millions of dollars to be funneled directly to the al-Shabaab terrorist organization in Somalia. Joining us now for more is Kentucky Congressman and House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. Mr. Chairman, good to see you. I know your committee and the Treasury Department have both launched investigations. Do you see this investigation ending with your committee recommending charges to the DOJ against Tim Walz, who's got his hands all over this fraud?
Well, if what the whistleblowers are saying is true, and we can prove that, which shouldn't be hard, then I do see criminal charges being pressed upon Governor Walz and possibly Attorney General Ellison. There are accounts that they knew about this fraud. According to the government employees, they were warned about this fraud, yet they made the decision not to do anything about it because they didn't want any political blowback or any type of negative stories. And I think that that is symbolic of what's going on with a lot of our social.
These politicians will allow fraud if it benefits them. These politicians are so self-serving that if they know about crime, but you won't vote for them, they will sweep it under the rug in order to remain in power. And that's exactly what Tim Walz did. He knew the stuff that was going on. There has been whistleblowers that have told him, hey, look, this organization right here, they're stealing money 100%. And they're sending it to Somalia to fund terrorist organizations. And he swept it under the rug because he needed that Somali vote, just like Ilhan Omar, to keep them in power. That is 100% what Democrats do. If they know that there is a crime involved, they don't care as long as you vote for them. They knew BLM was stealing money. They knew all the people at BLM, all the white people that were nice and donating money to that organization and to that cause and fight, whatever, were stealing money, buying themselves mansions and cars, did nothing for the black community. They knew they were stealing money. But guess what? They allowed it to happen in order to keep that vote. They needed the black vote, and that's what happened. And that's what Tim Walz did for Somali.
Programs all across America, especially in states run by Democrat governors. They know there are huge amounts of illegals and fraud in their systems, but yet they turn a blind eye because this is the biggest, most vocal part of the Democrat Party now, the illegals who have come in and the liberals who sympathize with the illegals.
Yeah, we've gotten several different reports about the dollar amount here, one indicating the fraud could be up to $6 billion, which is a lot of money, period, but it's a lot of money for a smaller state like Minnesota. What are you hearing?
Well, we know there's $250 million and probably much more. This was in social service programs. We expect to find out more about other audits. Part of what we're going to request from Minnesota are audits in addition to communications. We'll get our calculators out and try to tabulate how much money was defrauded from the social services programs and the Department of Education programs in the state of Minnesota. But I could see it reaching that huge $1 billion or more mark. So this is just another example of waste, fraud, and abuse in Democrat states with illegals. I think, and you've done a great job on your show highlighting the cost to society from these illegals. And, you know, at the very end of the day, the people that suffer the most are the American taxpayers and the people who depend on.
Yes, I just want everybody to understand why illegals are being imported into our country, okay? They need a new voter base. Democrats need a new voter base, okay? They already know they have the black vote on lock, okay? 85 to 90% of black people always vote Democrat in every presidential election cycle. It happens every single time. So they say, hey, you know, we already got that vote. How can we stay in power? Aha. Why do you think Biden and Harris flooded the country with illegal immigrants? Why do you think Democratic cities are trying to get rid of voter ID? So people can come in here and keep the Democrats in power, because legal immigrants know that conservatives are damn sure not going to do anything that's good for them. We need to get them out the country so we can make sure Americans are getting jobs. We're for immigration, just the right way, just legal immigration. So now Trump obviously has got wind of this, and let's see what Donald Trump had to say about this big scandal in Minnesota.
Ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch.
This is why I love Donald Trump. He is the most authentic president we have ever had in our life. Talk about a person that speaks his mind and will tell you exactly how he's feeling. As a president, we know typical politicians won't do that, because they will toe the line, make sure they don't piss anybody off on either side, because they want to make sure they get the votes. They care about themselves first. Donald Trump doesn't care. He cares about country first, okay? Clearly, he knows that Somalia is taking over. He doesn't care if he hurts people's feelings about this. He doesn't care if the Somali immigrants are feeling some type of way about Donald Trump's rhetoric. He doesn't care. He knows that they are a threat to America, and that's why he's going to send ICE to Minnesota. We'll see how that goes, but it's a necessity right now, because we cannot keep having these Somalis or whatever immigrants from Afghanistan or wherever come to our country, be imported in, start taking over elections, and the American fabric, culture, society is washed away. Now, let's talk about Jacob Frey. Gosh, damn, this guy is the worst spineless politician you can have right now. Jacob Frey is the mayor of Minneapolis, okay? And he is the absolute, I mean, talk about pandering. When it came to George Floyd, I'm going to show you this video of Jacob Frey crying when George Floyd was killed, okay? Mind you, this was a whole thing just to be sympathetic to the black people, so black people can say, wow, this guy really cares. He's crying. I can't believe it. We like this. Let's vote for this guy. We love, it's a democratic strategy. How can I get minorities? How can I get these people to love me? Jacob Frey says, oh, George Floyd, a career criminal, a guy who broke into a woman's home and put a gun to a pregnant woman's belly. You know what? Let's make him a martyr. I'm going to go to his funeral, have all these cameras there, and I'm going to have them take a video of me crying over his guy. I'm just going to show you this real quick.
My life is in your hands. You don't have to worry, and don't you be afraid. Joy comes in the morning. troubles, they don't last always.
So that is the mayor, okay? The mayor